Okay. Okay. So far we have discussed like how do we perform the DML operations using entity object and like other functionalities also, right? So now like the present session, what we do is we'll discuss about how do we perform DML operations on a table using PL/SQL API.
Okay.
Okay. So one more thing we have to understand, when we already have an entity object, why can't we use that particular functionality? What is the reason of using PL/SQL API? That is a general question developer will have it, right? Because if you
Yeah.
use entity object, it will just automate everything, right? We does not need to write any special logic. We does not need to write any PL/SQL API at all, right? So
Yeah.
so there could be a number of reasons. One reason could be, like let us say you already have a legacy validation logic which is already written and it is so complex, and like you don't want to disturb that. Simply you want to just call it whenever you perform appropriate operation. That could be one reason. Okay.
Okay.
Another reason could be like this could be a different one. So generally assume that you have, like in the OAF scenario, you consider the OAF page. In this, assume that you have a table region. Okay. So in the table region, assume that we have around 10 columns. Okay. And in this particular
Yeah.
10 columns, and the first 3 are coming from table 1 and the remaining 7 are coming from table 2. Okay.
Okay.
So and the relationship between both of them, both the table 1 and table 2, is 1 to 1.
Okay.
Relation is 1 to 1. So now here what we do, the query wise it is easy for the developer, right? You can just mention the appropriate join and you can design it, isn't it? Equi join, that's it. It will solve the
Yeah.
display purpose. But how about the DML purpose? So in this one, by default, if you observe, whenever we create entity object, we can create entity object on a single view. I mean to say here, what I mean to say is, we can create entity object on a single database object, right?
Yeah.
Either it can be a view or it can be synonym or other things, right? It can be single database
Mhm.
object. So,
Yeah.
so you'll be having a Vivo which is based on Evo, right?
Yeah.
So what will happen? So as it is based on a single database object, you can perform DML operations only on one table. It doesn't support multiple tables. So by
Yeah.
default, this functionality is not there in the way, but like we can extend that. Let us say if the developer want to write some logic, I mean, still we can achieve it. I don't say we cannot achieve it, but by default, it is not provided. So
Okay.
we have to write explicit logic to update data in multiple tables.
Okay.
Okay. So that's the reason, like rather than writing all this particular logic, we prefer to just use a PL/SQL API if you want to update data in multiple tables.
Oh.
Okay. And this particular one-to-one relationship, and if you're showing the data in the table region, we generally call it as flattened Evo.
Okay.
There's a concept called flattened Evo. So this will come into picture when you have one-to-one relationship. If it is a master table, that is a different way. If it's a master child,
Okay.
we'll try to display in a different way. You'll have a header and lines kind of fashion, right? The way we discussed last
Yeah.
time.
Yeah.
But here it is flattened one. Okay.
Okay.
So the reason could be, like I've just mentioned only few reasons, but it can be a number of reasons. The basic thing is like you want to have a PL/SQL validation logic. That is a basic thing sometimes. And even, recently I was working on one of the ADF. So in the ADF also you have the same MVC logic, same model layer, everything. Okay. And in that,
Oh.
so in that what we had is like, see in the OAF we don't even have that particular component. In the OAF, like in the drop down, you don't have any multi-select, right? Once you open a drop down, you can select only one row. But in the ADF, we have a drop down where we can perform multi-select also.
Okay.
So in the ADF, we had a drop down and where we can do a multiple selector. So now the
Okay.
selected rows has to be stored in the database as a record by record fashion. These selected multi-select data has to be stored as a record by record in the database.
Okay.
So entity object, like I don't think like see, even I was not much familiar with the ADF. So what I have done is I just simply used a PL/SQL API, PL/SQL logic, where I have sent all the selection data in table type fashion. Table type, like I'm going to
Okay.
say record type or maybe record type fashion to PL/SQL. That's it.
Oh.
So,
Okay.
it could be developer understanding, or maybe some feasibility stuff, or maybe you think that like it could be complex to manage it within the Java code. We prefer to write in the PL SQL also. That could be the reason.
Okay.
Okay.
Oh, yeah.
So now let's get into logic. So now what we want to do is we just want to design a DML page which will perform the DML operation. So here I'll consider employee object again. The reason for considering employee object because it is having all data types: number,
Yeah.
varchar, and the date. That's the only reason. Okay.
Yeah. Okay.
Now coming to model, view, and controller. So in the model layer we just require Vivo, and now here we require Vivo. Okay. And
Yeah.
this is a page. Okay.
Okay.
So this Vivo will name it as EMP using PL SQL. Okay. To just have a difference, because we already have a Vivo with a EMP Evo Vivo. So to just have a difference, we'll just name it as EMP using PL SQL Vivo.
Okay. Can't we use the same Vivo OST that we have earlier?
Yeah. So earlier Vivo which we have used, that's based on entity object.
Okay.
It was based on entity object, so I don't want to disturb
Yeah.
that logic.
Okay. All right.
Okay. Yeah.
Yeah.
So let's create a Vivo. And one more thing also we can do. Let us say here, if you observe, what is the package structure we have? We have CNSI and FND, right?
Yeah.
So here what we can do is, let us say we want to design this particular component in a different package structure also, we can do it.
Okay.
Now after FND we have LOV and these things, right? What we can do,
Yeah.
after FND we can just have PL SQL, and then you can have a server and web UI. That also possible.
Okay. Okay.
And we can use the same aim, or we can use a new aim also. Either way.
Okay.
Okay. Okay.
Yeah.
So in the server, we'll just create a new Vivo. Mention the Vivo. I'll go with read-only access.
Package.
Okay. Yeah. So package, shall we go with server, or you want me to change it?
Yeah, we can, it's up to you, Sri. We can.
Yeah, it's okay. We can go with like this.
Okay.
Next, and here just mention select star from EMP. And we require row MPL also. So row MPL. Next. And here, when we create Vivo, now in this scenario, how many files it will generate?
Two files, right? One is XML file, one is Java file, and one is the raw MPL file.
Yeah, so one XML file and two Java files. One is vivo impl.java and another one is vivo raw impl.java.
Yeah.
Okay, next
Yep.
and finish. Now assign the vivo to the aim. And okay. So while assigning the vivo to the aim, where exactly it will update? It will change the logic in the am.xml as well as in the am.impl.java also. If you observe the am.xml, it will have the information about the vivo which we assigned, right?
Yeah.
And the same way, whenever we assign the vivo to the aim, it will generate a get method, right? Get method for the vivo,
Yes.
right?
Yes. I did.
So two files
Yeah.
will get updated whenever you assign a vivo. So that is the reason, if at all, if you're trying to delete some object, don't delete directly. Exclude from the aim and remove it from the pages wherever it is using. Then we have to exclude or maybe delete.
Okay.
Okay. So now the next thing is, let us create a page. OA components page, and set the controller also. Okay. Now set the default properties. Okay. Now I'll just create header region. Okay.
Yep.
Now on this header region, we'll just create a region using a wizard. Next. We will create a table region.
Okay.
We require all the columns. So this is not having any who columns. Anyway, it is not required.
Okay. Yeah.
So we have to make sure this all of them as message text input only, because user should change it, right? User can modify it.
Yeah.
Click on finish. That's it. Okay. So on this table region, let's have insert as well as save. Okay.
Okay.
New table actions. Item. Save button. Okay.
Okay.
Now, first of all, let us write the initialization logic. Okay.
Okay.
In the AM. Okay. So now
Yeah.
we'll go to CO.
Process request.
Yeah. Yeah. Now let's run it. Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah. So now we could see the page, and here all the fields are in a text input fashion. So as of now, we have not written any code, but just see one logic here. I'll just click on this button. Okay. So even though we have not written the logic, just see the error, what it will throw. Click on save. Okay. There is no error, right?
Yeah.
There is no error. But let's modify. I'll just modify the data here. I'll just change the salary. Now click on save. Okay. Do you see the error?
Yeah. I think we saw this earlier also, Sri. We did not generate new methods. Is that what it is?
No. That is not the
Okay.
that's not the reason.
Okay.
So it's saying that row 1 salary attribute set for salary in view object failed. So the basic thing what it is trying to tell you is the property in a view object for this particular column got, like that is the issue. That's what it is telling. There's an issue with the
Oh,
property for this particular column in the view. So generally, if you just observe the view, now this particular view which we use is generally read-only purpose, right? It is a read-only purpose.
yeah.
But now what are we
Okay.
doing? We're trying to change the data, right? Now do you
Okay.
see
Okay. Yeah.
what is the option we have? Updatable is never.
Okay.
Okay. So basic thing is if you are using a Vivo and if it is you're trying to update it, make sure this particular property as updatable always.
Okay.
Okay.
So, Steve, when we are creating a Vivo, we have an option, right? Okay. There we only select whether it is an Evo or whether it is a SQL only.
Yeah, right.
Okay. Okay. All right.
Now it will not have that issue. Okay.
Yeah.
Now other thing what we want to do is, now let us say generally we have insert, update and delete, right? So let us work on the insert first. Let us work on the insert. So when a user clicks on insert, we have to insert a row into the VO level, right? And when a user clicks on save, we have to insert that particular row in the database. Okay.
Yeah.
So now let's write the insertion logic in the AM. Public. Okay. So insertion wise, same thing. There is no difference. Okay.
Yeah.
The way we have done earlier, the same logic.
Status initialized.
Yeah.
Etc.
Okay. So if at all, if you want to initialize any value, we can just do it before setting the value in the view. So
Okay.
time being, we can just ignore that. So this particular logic we have to call when user clicks on insert button.
Okay.
So, okay.
Yeah.
Let's run the page. Okay. Let's click on insert. Okay. So the row is getting inserted. And
Okay.
I'll just click on save. Of course, nothing will work. And but you will not have an
Okay.
issue now. It will not.
Yeah.
It will not raise any issue this time. Okay. Yeah. So let's write the logic behind the save. So now what we want to do is we just, when a user clicks on save, we have to insert this particular row into the database, right? Observe
Yeah.
here. So, but like, how do you know which row user has inserted? Now, I'll just show you my PL SQL. So this PL SQL just requires, like this particular PL SQL API, it is having the insert, delete, and all the APIs. Okay. Insert procedure, insert EMP, update EMP, as well as delete EMP. Now we need to call our insert EMP procedure from the OAF. It requires just the data. Okay, it just requires the valid data so that it will insert. But now from the OAF point of view, now how do you know which row I have to use for the insertion? How do we validate? Now
Select filtered rows.
see, now here if you observe, we have around 15 rows. Now this is a row which, this is the latest row. Remaining rows are the existing rows. Remaining all the rows are existing one. Only the employee number 3 is the latest one. But how do we identify, on what basis? We don't have any other special column, right? So we don't even have selection stuff here. But how do we do?
Yeah.
Right?
Yeah.
So that is another problem with the PL SQL. Within the VO, we don't have any logic to validate whether it's an existing row or a new row. Within the VO level, we don't have any logic at all. So, but what we do is, to overcome this particular functionality, this issue, what we do is we'll have one attribute. Using that, we'll try to validate whether it's an existing row or a new row.
Okay.
Okay. So within the EMP PL SQL VO, what we'll do is we'll just create a new flag, temporary flag. I'll just set it as new row flag, updatable always, and okay, and apply, and okay. Now what we do is, while inserting a row into the VO, like here, this is a place where we are inserting a row, right? So before insertion, I'll just say row dot set new row flag as Y.
Okay.
Okay. And what we do is, for existing rows, let us say, like, generally you'll face null pointer issues if you're trying to, if you don't have any value, right? So, or maybe some other reason, what we can do is during initialization, what we can do is we can set the value of this particular flag value as n for all the existing rows, or maybe we can just ignore that. Either way.
Okay.
Okay, so what I will do is I'll try to set the flag value for the existing rows to just have a clarity. So to do this, I just require row set iterator.
Okay.
Okay, I'll set it as n.
Yeah. Okay.
And also time being for during design purpose, you can also enable that particular flag in the table region. So we can just update the table region. On the table region, click on edit region, click on view attributes. Now you select this one, the new row flag. Okay.
Okay.
And also you can change this new row flag to data type. Let us say you can make it as message style text also.
Okay.
Now run it.
So we'll have the same issue when we update any data also, right, Steve?
Yeah. Yes, we'll have
we
it.
Will not.
We'll have it.
Okay.
Yeah. I'll tell you, like there are other way of doing it. See, like within the PL SQL, the approach which we are using generally is not the preferred one. But you know why I'm telling this one is because let us say if you're in an upgrade project or maybe if in a support project, there could be the reason that developer could have been done using this logic. So if you don't know this one, it'll have an issue, isn't it? So that's the reason I'm trying to tell you the approaches also, the different approaches, not just the functionality. So now here by default the value is n, right, for all the rows.
Okay.
Now just click on insert. So now if you observe that for the latest row, the flag value should be y. Okay. It is y. It is y. So now when a user clicks on save, we can easily distinguish, okay, which is the latest row and which is the old row. That's what we can do, isn't it? Right? And now the functionality is like, let us say if you have inserted multiple rows, assume that you have inserted multiple rows. Let us say I'll click on insert again. So it will insert one more row, isn't it? Of course, it is showing on the next page.
Okay.
Right? This is where it is getting shown. Now, when a user clicks on save, now at this point of time, if I click on save, what should happen? We'll be getting 2 rows for insertion, isn't it? We'll be getting 2 rows for insertion, but how many times you have to call the PL SQL API? We have to call 2 times.
2 times, yeah.
Because it just takes only one record by record fashion. It takes data in a record by record fashion. Or else, if you want to insert all the rows in a bulk fashion, so what we have to do? You have to write a logic considering that PL SQL table type as a record, as an input data type, and that's how we have to do it.
Okay.
That is also possible. Anyways, so now here what we are doing, the expectation is that we'll be calling our API for each record once. For each record once, we have to call the insert API. So now what we do is, so how do we get the selected rows? Now how do you know which rows we have, which rows we have to consider for insertion based on the new row flag, right?
Yeah, get filtered.
Yeah, get filtered rows, new row flag. That's how we can write the logic. Okay.
Yeah.
So for this one, like this is the first time we are calling our PL SQL API, right? So in the PL SQL scenario, so let me write here. See. So if you consider from database point of view, we have two types of component. One is SQL, another one is PL SQL. Okay. So Java doesn't know database, but there is some particular interface or APIs which are available so that you can have a connection between the PL SQL. So the API is callable statement if you want to use PL SQL, and if you want to use a SQL, then it is called prepared statement. Okay. So SQL query also we can call within the Java. So we have to use prepared statement logic there. If you want to use a PL SQL, then we have to call callable statement. When you say PL SQL, it can be procedure or a function, both.
Okay.
Okay. So these are the APIs we have to use it appropriately. Now, this callable statement logic is always a complex one. It won't be that much easy, but like it's not. See, if you understand, there is nothing called tough. Okay. So what we do is I'll try to copy the logic which is required for the purpose of calling the API. So because it is difficult to write it, but I can understand the code, but it is difficult to write. Okay. I'll try to explain the total code which I pasted here.
Okay.
Let me just remove all these errors. So generally, like here, why it is giving error? Because this particular API is not there. That is the reason it's just giving error. Okay. So let us tackle all those things one by one. So we are just getting the rows one by one based on the new row flag. Okay. And we declared all the temporary variables which are required.
Okay.
And then, so can you see here for loop, we're getting all the rows wherever the flag value is y. Okay. And then get all the values here. For a given record, get all the values using these particular attributes like a row dot get emp number, ename, and all these things. And then this is our API. This is our like the SQL logic.
Okay.
It is like anonymous block coding. If you observe here, I just have begin, end, and that I just have the PL SQL logic. So in this particular logic also you have different ways. So this is one of the generally understandable ways. So I just use this one.
Okay.
Begin and end followed by inside that you just have your API and mention all the parameters and their particular binding sequence. And here the binding sequence starts with 1. It just follows your PL SQL. So it starts with 1, and then after that, now here what we have to do is we have to call our PL SQL API, isn't it? Nothing but like we have to use a callable statement API. So in the callable statement API, the parameters are, it just requires your database transaction, and then in that you have a method called create callable statement. Mention your SQL string, nothing but this particular total block, and comma 1. This one default parameter we have to pass it. I don't know really what is the significance of this, but the first parameter is the the SQL string, and then comma 1. And after that, 1 minute. So still we have few issues. Yeah, that's it. Now here what we are doing is we have these parameters. Before executing the PL SQL from Java, we have to set all the parameters, right? Now the first parameter is emp number. So I need to pass emp number dot int value because I have to convert number data type to integer here. That is the reason I'm just using this one. And this is for set integer, set string. And in this particular one more thing is here, let us say there are scenarios where you may not require all the parameters to be entered by the user, right? You can pass null value also. That could be the reason. That could be the logic also, isn't it? So when you're passing the value null, don't pass the value null directly. First of all, check that whether it is null. If it is not null, pass the value properly. If it is null, make sure that you call set null method. Set null parameter name followed by, you have to call oracle types dot null. Okay, this is how we have to try to check. That is the reason we have if condition for each particular attribute here. If manager not equal to null, hide it not equal to null. But assuming that like an integer, assuming that emp number and ename are mandatory, so that's the reason we don't have the condition for them. But for remaining all the other attributes, we just have the condition to validate whether they are null or not. Okay. So yeah, so you don't see much complex here. The basic thing is it's not the coding is complex. The only thing is these particular things, like while writing the code manually, there are chances you may miss some set of parameters or maybe syntax. That could be that is only reason. Remaining thing what we have been discussing, the same. Getting all the rows, get the filter rows, get the value. Only thing is for a given particular row, you're getting all the values and you're just passing them to the PL SQL and then you're executing it. And now these all parameters are in parameter, right? So we also have out parameters in our PL SQL API. Can you see? There are two out parameters, return statement and return message. So
Okay,
for
yeah.
out parameters, we have to register them as out parameter. There is a logic, there is a method called register out parameter. In the register out parameter, mention the parameter sequence and the data type and the size.
Okay.
And after that, once you execute, so after setting all the parameters, you should see whenever you have in and out, make sure that you set all the parameters. Then only we have to call the execute. Okay.
Okay, yeah.
So here we are calling the callable statement dot execute. This is a place where it will execute the PL/SQL program, and after that you'll get a message. I mean, you can retrieve the output parameters, and based on that, you can validate nothing but you can just like based on that you can find out whether it is an error or a success. Based on that, you can throw the appropriate message.
Okay.
Clear?
Yeah. Yeah.
Okay. So now let us call this particular logic when a user clicks on save button. So let us say public void save emp using PL/SQL. So I'll just call this particular logic here inside this one,
Okay.
and then
Commit.
you have to write commit only within the Java level. Don't write in the PL/SQL level.
Okay.
Okay, that's it.
Yeah.
Now call this particular one when a user clicks on save. Okay.
Yep.
Yeah. Now let's run the page. Now click on insert. And maybe before update, we can also validate what data we have there. Okay. So let us say click on count rows. As of now, we have 16 rows. Now,
Okay.
maybe we can just check the EMP number. Yeah, okay. So I'll enter the EMP number as 3, test 3. So maybe we can enter other parameters also. Okay. Now just click on save. It says data saved successfully, but check it from database.
Okay.
Got it?
Yeah.
And we can try multiple rows also. Let us say I'll click on insert. Now I'll just say 4, test 4. I'll enter all the parameters. 7,
Okay.
sorry, department number 10. Click on insert again. 5. Okay.
Yeah.
Now click on save. So it has to insert the rows 4 and 5.
Yeah.
So check from database. Right? 4 and 5.
4. Yes. Yeah.
So the save is like insertion is done, but how about the update? As of now, we just performed only insertion, right? But how do you perform update?
Yeah.
Now in this one, the problem is here. If you observe, let us say assume that like if all the rows wherever the flag value is y, if we consider for insertion, that is perfect, isn't it? We are just getting only those rows which are ready for insertion. But how about the update? Let us say if we consider all the rows where the flag value is n for updation, it's nothing but you're unnecessarily calling the API, right? Redundantly, you're calling the API. But what could be the other way? What could be the solution?
Yeah, similar set flag, but whenever we move to a new record or move out of a record, probably set the flag as well.
Yeah, that is correct. So if you observe here, let us say, assume that like we will not allow user to modify EMP number and ename. Okay, we'll do that. And assume that like how many columns are there? Assume that like we have an option where user can modify these particular, around 6 columns. For a given row, the option is user can update any of the 6 columns in any of the row. Now what will happen?
Okay.
So assume that you're trying to modify 5 rows. So how many times it will raise it? It will raise the event 5 times, isn't it?
Yeah.
You understand? Let us say if I assume that like I'm kind of a user, I'll try to modify each and every column in a given row for 5 rows. What will happen? 30 times it will raise the event.
Yeah. When do we have something called when validate record here? See, no if.
No, that level of logic, no, we don't have it.
Okay. Okay.
No, we don't have it. So that's the reason, like at the Vivo level, we don't have any control on the row logic. At the Vivo
Okay.
level, we don't have any control on the row level.
Okay.
Okay, so that is the drawback of this particular logic.
Okay.
Okay, so anyways, we'll tell you what is the solution, but time being, what we do is, see, we can try to have a different flag wherever, like based on a fire action parameter, we can do it. What we can do is we can have an action, we can have an event on a particular parameter and change the value of this particular flag accordingly. And for only those rows, you can call it. But the problem is, if user is trying to modify large number of columns, it's unnecessary, right? You unnecessarily raising an event, and that's again a tedious stuff. On the TDL, like
Yeah.
on the page, it will have a heavy load, right?
Yeah.
So time being, what we do is wherever the flag value is n, we'll consider for updation. Okay, but in the next,
Okay.
like in the next sample, I'll tell you what is the solution for this. Like
Okay.
what is the other way we generally we can use it so effectively we can design the page. Okay.
Yeah.
So for
Okay.
updation, it's very simple again. So there is no difference at all. What we can do is I can consider the same logic. Only thing is we have to consider the flag value wherever the flag value is n. Just consider those particular rows for the updation. That is only difference.
Okay.
Okay. So I'll just copy the same logic, and here I'll just say invoke update EMP equal, and here it is n. That's only difference.
Okay.
Okay. So here I'll just call the same thing, invoke update EMP equal. That's it. So wanderly, I
Yeah.
just mentioned the same parameter. Generally, like in the update, you may not have all the parameters, but in our case, the signature of both the insert and update are same. The signature of both the things. I mean to say the parameters are both are same. That's the reason we don't have anything to modify here. Okay.
Okay. Okay.
You can try for the update now. And here one bug is there. So first of all, you have to call the update. Then after that, you have to call the insertion. Because what happens is after insertion, we are resetting the flag value to n, right? So it will be called for update again,
Okay.
right? So better call the insert first. Better call the insert first. It will, like wherever the flag value is n, it will call only those rows, and it will reset the flag value to n again. But in this case, what it will do? Initially, the flag value will be y, and it will reset to n, isn't it?
Okay. Where are we resetting the flags to?
Here, after reading, right? Here, row dot set new row
Oh.
flag to n.
Oh. Yeah. Okay.
Okay. Anyway, even if it calls for updation again, it's not a problem. But why it will have a problem? The reason is because we have not yet committed the data to database. So your update logic will not have that logic. Your update statement will not be success, isn't it? Your update statement will not be
Oh.
success. Because
Okay.
until unless you commit, the data will not be available in database. So even if you perform update, nothing will happen. But let us say if sometimes if developer writes a logic SQL percentile row count kind of thing, then your update logic will return you false, right?
Okay. Okay.
That's the
Yeah.
reason. Yeah. So these logical mistakes generally is very difficult to find.
Okay.
Let's try. Now click on 6. Okay, I'll try to change the value for one of the user. Let us say for 7521 I'll change the salary. I'll set it as
Okay.
6500, and for this
Okay.
one it is 650. So one row should be inserted and one row should be updated, right? 7521 should be inserted and 6 should be, 7521 should be updated, 6 should be inserted. Click on save, and now let us check it from backend. Okay, what is that? EMP.
Unique const.
Okay, is it 6 is already there? No, right? Maybe EMP name? No. Okay, so now where exactly we have the error? Which row we have the error? So it is raising a database trigger stuff, right? It is a database trigger.
Okay, yeah.
So it is trying. I hope it maybe here. Here could be the mistake, right? So invoke update, getting all the rows where the flag value is n, and resetting to n. That's it, right? Yeah, these kind of things very difficult. What we can do is maybe we can have a debug. We can just try to debug, and that's how we can solve it. Not a problem. So run the page in a debug mode. First of all, you have to enable the debug points where exactly you want to trace it. Now in this case, what is happening is we are not sure exactly where it is having the issue, right? Let us say I will have my debug points. Just toggle this area. It will have a red color circle. Now
Okay.
invoke update. Let's start with invoke update. So I'll just enable these particular points here. Toggle stuff. Now run the page in a debug mode. Debug. So debug generally is quite slow, but that's how we can easily trace the errors.
Okay.
Okay, let's click on insert. 9, test 9. And also I'll try to change this one to 6500. Maybe
Okay.
there should be, I hope there will be a constraint on the salary also. Let us say, I'll just change it to 545. Now click on
Okay.
save. Yeah, now this is getting called. Now clear this log and F8. Now it went to at this level, right? Now it is at this level. We are in the
Okay.
update. We are in the update. Okay.
Okay.
And you can observe the smart data also. You can observe the smart data here somewhere. Can you see
Okay.
smart data? You can observe all the values of this particular row.
Okay.
And you can also observe the value here. Even just mouse over on the column, it will show the value.
Okay.
Right. So now it is trying to get all the rows. Callable statement. Hey, I got the issue. Can you see? Yes, in the update also I'm just calling the insert API.
Okay. Okay.
Understood? So this should be
Yeah.
updated.
Yeah.
That's the reason it is telling the primary key issue.
Okay. Yeah.
Okay. Yeah. Now rerun the page. Let's see. Yeah. Click on insert. 9, test 9. Yeah. Now click on save. Okay, perfect. So observe here from the backend, 9 got inserted and 7521 got updated, 6500.
Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah.
So this is how we can, like perform the DML operation using a PL SQL. Now, if you want to delete any of the, if you want to delete any of the thing, just have a selection appropriately. It can be a single selection or multiple selection, and we just need to call the delete procedure.
Yeah.
Okay. So we'll continue this logic in the next class again, and then we'll also talk about the other alternative solution for this.
Okay. Sure, Sri.
Yeah. Okay then.
Okay. All right. Yeah. Thanks, Sri.